My name is Julianne Mayer, and I'm chair of the Task Force for Older People's Housing, and it's a great pleasure to have been invited to the Healthy Ageing 2023 conference. I've been asked to talk a little bit about the Task Force and then introduce our other speakers. The Task Force is all about adding life to years, which of course is the theme of this conference. But this session is entitled Housing Revolution, Scaling for Ageing. So I will begin and then pass over to Alison, who's going to be looking at designing homes for healthy cognitive ageing. Then we'll pass on to Simon from Blackwood Homes and Care, and then to Laura from Invisible Creations. And I want us to take this opportunity for you to share with the task force things that you think matter and are important, and invite you on Slido to engage on the question, from your research and experience, what key messages or recommendations does the Older People's Housing Task Force need to be mindful? And I would encourage you to connect with me after the conference if you think there are key recommendations that you can provide evidence for that you think we should be engaging with. So I'll just begin by talking a little bit about the task force itself. And I need to get the clicker. No, I've just remembered I'm without slides. Forgive me. Woo! The task force is interested in how to support older people who want to stay in their own homes, if that's what they choose to do. Also, how can we incentivize people to right-size and release their family homes for others, if that's what they want to do? And how can we expand both the quality and quantity of the older people's housing market so that there is more choice for older people? There is a concern that people are going from their own homes at a point of crisis into care homes, and that actually we need to increase the range of options. And we are particularly looking at the middle market, not people eligible for social care or the top end of the market. It's felt that those people can afford to look after themselves. It's the middle market that has been much neglected in the past. So people who maybe own their own homes but don't have access to much cash, or people who rent but have access to a small pension. And we're clearly responding to the ageing population, the troubling lack of supply of housing, also the fact that existing housing stock is largely unsuitable, that people are missing out on the health benefits of older people's housing, and the need to release suitable homes for families. And we're also responding to the fact that consumers are confused, and actually people would consider moving into other forms of housing than actually choose to do so. And that is because they are put off by the complicated, contradictory terms used, the negative stereotypical image, and a misunderstanding of what is available. So the task force is an exciting initiative that is a partnership working between the Department of Health and Social Care and the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities. And I have a new boss, Les Rowley, as of yesterday, who I'm looking forward to meeting from the Department of Levelling Up, and working with Helen Wakely from the Department of Health. And I would just like to acknowledge Rachel McLean's work, who stepped down yesterday. Her passion and enthusiasm for this topic and for setting up the task force is very much appreciated. So the task force is quite large. There are 19 of various stakeholders with a whole range of expertise. And we've divided into 3 work streams: people, products, and place. And the people work stream, led by John Galvin and Catherine Smith, so that's the Elderly Accommodation Council and the Social Care Institute for Excellence, They're helping us to develop a deeper understanding of the needs, preferences, concerns of older people, their families and their carers. And we want to put the people's workstream at the heart of what we do. So we want to propose solutions for how people can be supported to realise and understand the full extent of choices and feel empowered to do so. The second work stream is led by Nick Sanderson from the Audley Group and also chair of ARCO, and Ben Rosewall, who's head of investment for Legal & General, who work with Inspired Villages, and Jeremy Porteous, who's from the Housing Limb. And this work stream is looking at, well, what is good older people housing and what should it look like in the future? So it's looking at different types, the design of fabric, application of technology. And one of the key messages from this work stream is the importance of consumer protection. If we don't get consumer protection right, then investors will not invest and consumers will not move in. The third work stream, Places, is supporting people to be healthy in their own homes, and it's led by John Rouse from Stoke County Council and Andrew Surgener from CBRE that interface investors and operators and builders. And it's examining what we need to do to bring all the levers and partners together in the local system to make change happen at a local level. So we are halfway through, and we've done a lot of work, and we've come up with an interim report that we're presenting to ministers at the end of this month, and a set of recommendations that we will then test with further roundtables and some focus groups and surveys and other research, just to make sure that what we're thinking about is shared across the sector. So at the moment, our thinking is very much around how do we improve information, advice and guidance, and recognise the need for a universal, impartial and independent information and advice service. A second area is around planning and design, and we're looking into changes to the planning policy and future-proof of design. We're considering the development of rights-based legislation, which is going to build on the Care Act, and thinking about legally enforceable standards. Also increasing capacity, where we're looking into funding to increase age-inclusive housing stock, and local housing strategies. We're considering every local planning authority needs to produce an older people's housing strategy and plan. And also a new regulatory framework that will support more consumer protection. So that just gives you an overview of the findings, and I'm really interested to introduce our speakers now, who are going to talk about their own work and how it perhaps links in. Over to you, Alison.
Thank you. I'm going to move to the lectern. I'm going to talk about a research project, DESHCA, Designing Homes for excuse me, Healthy Cognitive Aging. This is one of the projects funded by ESRC under the Healthy Aging Challenge in the programme of research on social, behavioural and design issues. So it's very much a team effort, and I really would like to acknowledge the magnificent support of my team at the University of Stirling. So DESHCA aims to identify housing innovations that support living well with cognitive change. We know that people experience physical change at the same time, so we incorporate that into our work as well. For us, it's very important that the innovations really suit people as they age, or rather, I should say, suit us as we age. And I'd like to make a plea for a bit more we language when we're talking about aging. It's not a strange population out there, it's all of us now and into the future. We need the innovations to be practical, affordable and scalable for developers and providers, or they won't happen. And they need to be suitable for newly built and existing homes, most of us living in existing homes, of course. We've aimed in the project to design and test homes in collaboration with stakeholders across the sector and including many older people. And in the end, our aim has been to produce guidance for people to make decisions about homes, whether they're providing them or living in them. We've worked with a huge range of partners. I won't go through this list, but it's important that we've been able to work with providers, including local authorities and housing associations, with people who design housing, including architects, and also with businesses, including builders, and also including a gaming company, which I'll come back to a little bit later. This is just a summary of the data that we've collected. You'll be relieved to know I'm not going to go through the whole lot of it, but this is just to illustrate the range of material that we have and what lies behind what I'm going to be saying when I come to our results. First, just a brief comment on earlier work in this area. There has been a tendency to focus on particular innovations or particular pieces of technology rather than home design more broadly. We're in the territory of home design more broadly. There's been very little investigation or understanding of issues of costs or the business aspects. There's tended to be an assumption, well, it's extortionately expensive, so we won't do it, and we won't even think about it. There's been little attention to the diversity of older people. Older people are not all the same. There isn't one kind of universal provision that'll suit everybody, as a lot of people in the conference have been agreeing. Innovations that have been done have tended to be small scale, and there's been little consideration of scalability. That's introducing stuff at scale. And most of the outcomes that people have thought about have been researcher defined, not defined by the people who are going to be providing the houses or who are going to be living in them. And if you do that, you miss some of the very important effects of design. So I'm going to briefly run through some key findings and then look at what we might like the task force to be saying. So there are a lot of words on these slides. Forgive me, I missed one there. So we find that the really key outcomes through our research for housing for healthy cognitive aging are, unsurprisingly, maintaining independence, staying physically active, and enjoying preferred activities. And I emphasize that one, because that's really at the core of our recommendations. A lot of change is needed at multiple levels. This includes awareness raising for older people in the sector, education for professionals, changes to legislation and policy. To do everything, you'd have to change a lot. But I'm going to say we can do some small things and get quite a long way. We know that as we go through our lives, we make changes to our homes, both proactively and reactively. It's not that we get old and suddenly think, oh gosh, need to change the house. Many of the changes we make will enhance quality of life, and they will support aging in place. The key is to recognize them, I guess. People balance the benefits of making the changes with the stress and expense that making them can cause. Importantly, the home is, of course, a significant social space. It's not just a space for maintaining us and keeping us alive. It's a place where we want to enjoy our life and interact with other people. For the sector, building and retrofitting homes is a complex business, and cognitively sustainable features can very easily fall off the table in this process. One of the things we want to do is bring them much more strongly to the fore. We know, though, that there is appetite and there is demand for cognitively supportive housing. It's not very widespread, but there are some really key active people who want to promote this, and we're very keen to work in collaboration with them. So if there are any out there, please come and talk to us. However, one of the obstacles is that we talk to a lot of professionals who design and provide this housing, and they talk about all the features and how important it is and how brilliant the design is. And at the end of interviewing them, we just say, by the by, would you like to live in this house? And the answer is, oh no. That is so common. And that, in our view, is one of the really key obstacles. So we've been co-designing new homes using VR. And we see that people's needs evolve and change through the lifetime. We see that it's necessary for newly built homes to adopt inclusive design, and that needs to support diverse needs, coming back to that point. We find that existing homes can incorporate small changes that make a big difference. You don't have to rebuild the entire house to make it cognitively supportive. You can introduce contrast, visibility, labeling. Flexibility in design is key to accommodating personal preference and varying needs. And we would like adaptations to be subtle and aesthetically pleasing. And you'll hear more about that from my colleague here shortly. The white plastic handle is universally despised, we have to say. And again, we find the neglect of scalability. So I've listed here our key outputs. I won't dwell on them, but these are appearing on our website as time goes on, and they're designed to appeal across the sector. So finally, I'll come to the recommendations that we would like the task force to think about. We would like to see healthy cognitive aging included in conversations about future housing design and housing policy. We want to change the language. We want to be saying, as we age, we may change our homes, and these are the changes that we think will support us as time goes on. We want to increase awareness of and demand for supportive design. And we want to think about both principles which would feed into new builds, and also features which are small changes that anybody can make and that hardly cost any money at all, actually. If you're painting your walls, choose a different colour and it can be more supportive. Cost exactly the same. We want to promote partnership working at a very deep level that brings professionals and older people together throughout the whole process. And in the end, our research is suggesting that these kinds of changes can enable us all to age in the right place and live the lives that we want. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Please do connect with us on Slido, your thoughts on recommendations or key findings or your own research and how it links. So we're now going to move on to Simon.
A little bit about Blackwood Homes and Care. We are a housing and care organisation up in Scotland. Our housing and care mix actually is interesting. It's about 40% of our mix is housing, so I was going to say 1,300, 1,700 homes, and about 60% of ours is care business. So we really straddle the kind of healthy ageing and that integration into housing as well. You see some images there. They are, well, okay, the middle image is a bit of a pretend image, but the two images either side of that is the Blackwood House, and that's a big feature of what we do in terms of helping that agenda for housing for ageing. But how did we get here? How did I end up on this stage? Well, we were part of a Trailblazer fund from UKRI and Innovate UK. I'm not going to brag, but I think we got the most money. I'm looking at George as if he was going to nod there. I don't know if he would. It's true. Thank you very much, George. So 3-year programme. And it's not just us. It's us and 9 partners. Delight to see some of them there. David Alexander from Midex in the room as well. And we were looking very much at 7 themes. Now, I'm not going to go through them all. I've been told I have to turn my body as well when I'm doing this. I'm not going to go through them all, but the point of those was we believed that those 7 themes, when they combine, turn into and create places that help you age better and actually fundamentally neighbourhoods for the future, which I think we will be looking at particularly in terms of the task force. Because ageing, I've heard this so often at the conference yesterday and already this morning, ageing is not actually about being over 60, 65 or whatever else. Ageing is every minute of every single day, and I think it's important that we do keep that in mind. So the project itself is £12.5 million, £6 million generously provided, George, thank you again, from UKRI and Innovate UK, and £6.5 million between ourselves and our industry partners. That's industry, it's academia, there's big partners like Enterprise, car hire and things like that there as well. And the grand challenge, of course, we know 5 additional healthy years, which the second we signed up for this, everybody told us can't be done. So we'll kind of look at that a little bit. But I suppose the point of this in housing